The first of at least 13 developer diaries for City Skylines 2 was just released, and there is so much more being said than what was written down. I'd like to keep this casual, if you know what I mean, but still pick out some details in this new information as well as a bit of reading between the lines to see what we can discover. I do have some bullet points written over here, so if you see me looking over here, that's why, but let's get to the document. Right away, in these first two paragraphs, like the first paragraph, they mention familiar features and they mention newer features, brand new elements, brand new to the franchise. And then in the second paragraph, they mention returning players as well as new players. So those two things strike me that I'm just gonna say I'm right. I feel like I've been saying that my confidence is there with CO, that they want to appeal to us who have thousands of hours in CS1, but then also make things accessible, I guess, for people who are new coming into CS2. I will be really curious, like how many people come to CS2 who have never played CS1, and these two paragraphs tell me that they're ready for them, as well as us, like without abandoning us who have already done the CS1 stuff. Awesome. Looking at this picture, does that cathedral, I guess it is, look familiar to you? Pretty sure that's a real cathedral that maybe no longer exists. And then looking at these bridges, I mean, they're not red, but the standy-uppy doobers of them look a heck of a lot more similar to the San Francisco Bridge that I've been on, the Golden Gate Bridge, than the CS1. The CS1, like regular highway bridges, just have like one little tick buoy over. So I think there's real world locations in here. Again, in this first paragraph, they mention the predecessor, so mentioning the previous players, like making things accessible for people who've played this before, or fun or whatever for people who have played this before, but also accessible for new people. They want us to realize our vision for the perfect road layout. So they know that many of us, I guess, are perfectionists and want things to be great. In CS1, some of those things weren't always possible. And so now it sounds like they're trying to make it possible for us in this sequel. I think the grid mode is like the star of this next section. But when you look at this picture, there is definitely bits from the precision engineering mod in here, right? Like it tells you the angle, which I don't think it says explicitly in vanilla in CS1, and it tells you the meters of the roads as well as the cost, which we're used to. And then this little doober is the slope, which is mentioned later, so we'll get to that. Replace tool, Here's my very early call to action. If you go back and watch some of my live streams where we talk about CS2 and like what our wishes are or whatever for CS2, one of the things that I always bring up was modular roads. And that's what this sounds like. You can change existing roads more freely, cool, and fine tune by adding grass, trees, wider sidewalks, or sound barriers. And then there's more mentioned about this replace tool later on in the little document. So this is modularity with the roads. So this sounds like we would like place this four lane, medium road probably. And then we would grab the replace tool, which I think is what we veteran players are used to as the upgrade tool. And, oh, it says it right there. And then we would add grass to it rather than in our GUI having like a bunch of the same 4-lane medium road, but one being regular sidewalks, one being thick sidewalks, one being grass, one being tree. Which shows that they have in mind keeping the GUI simple. Do I have that written down here? I think I have that written down to address later on. Right now, when you look in the menus in CS1, it's a hot mess sometimes. And I wonder if one of their goals going into this was keeping it more beautiful, simple, easy to use, easy to navigate. I'm curious if they do go down the many CCP DDLC route, how cluttered it'll eventually get. But for now, it sounds like maybe that's a goal of theirs. What else do I have written down? Oh, parallel roads. Everyone wanted it. Everyone wanted parallel roads. They're listening to the masses, of course. That's to me, it was kind of expected. What I love about this paragraph is that with parallel mode, all other road tools are still usable. So not only are they appealing to what people want, but they are thinking ahead enough to be able to combine this with the other tools that are available. So it's not just taking, directly the mod that we used to have, those parallel roads, but it's also integrating it into the game that they want to make. When you look at this picture, you can see the beautiful, parallel whooshy highway or whatever. And this, like with the parallel roads tool, says to me that that's accessible now. Accessible meaning either for people who are new to the game, people who just, don't have the best hand-eye coordination because that's not a strength of theirs, or maybe true accessibility for folks who maybe have to use a head mouse or don't have the same usage of their hand to eye coordination or just their hand and wrist and arm movement as we do. That is awesome. This is the paragraph that I have on my little bullet point here. The talks about, they say, displaying a numerical value of the slope steepness from the starting point of the road segment to the desired endpoint. This, I've been talking a lot already about accessibility for like newer players or less good, I guess, players. And this to me says that they are also trying to please and trying to provide tools for perfectionists and people who maybe want like realism with the steepness of their road, or just have a very specific like visual in mind, right? I remember making interchanges in CS1 and you see the off ramp goes whoa. And I may not care about that, but someone who's playing the game, to have it be a little bit more realistic, or even just, realism aside, even just have it be more visually appealing, then now there's a numerical demonstration of that being possible, which is grand. And in here you can see there is a lot of different snapping options. That's cool. We've got, it looks like, one more of these options than we previously did, because this must be that grid thing. This looks like swapping or replacing, but then these ones are like we used to have 3. We used to have straight and then anyways, so there's 4 here. This says that you cancel doing your action with the right mouse button, which is the same as CS1. So that's fun. It'll be good for our muscle memory, our veteran players' muscle memory. The whole like roads across existing roads thing, this whole thing says to me that Colossal Order is willing to put effort into developing like developmental cycle for quality of life things. Obviously, that's wonderful. That shows a caring for your player base and for your player base's enjoyment of the game. Obviously, you want people to enjoy your game. And so they show it to us here, right here, makes me think of where else have they implemented things that are quality of life. Like this is, I don't know, maybe I'm misreading something, but this is strictly quality of life, right? Like we could in CS1, click here, click here, click here, click here, but so we could like achieve this effect. We could achieve a road going across other roads, but now they've just made it simple. And so it's just quality of life. They didn't have to put that in, but they did. And so where else are they giving us these quality of life things? I'm really excited for all of them. We have, oh yes, the cut and fill stuff and the elevated roads. And okay, so here on this picture, does this picture right here, does it just like look poor to you? Not as in like it's a poor quality picture or anything, or a poor quality city, but money poor. Like that just looks like a poor neighborhood, which is neat. I don't know if I'm making that up, but it's got like the row housing. The highway over the road doesn't scream I'm paying, I don't know, doesn't scream single family. I don't know, it just looks inexpensive to live there. With the road on top of the road, to me, I feel like this is just them implementing an option in the game that they wanted to have in the game. I don't know, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that yes, a lot of these things look like they are giving us what we want, but then there are also some things in here that are like, okay, Colossal Order wanted this to be able to happen in their game, and so they made it happen. I don't know, maybe I'm making that up. Maybe that's just a bunch of conjecture. The way that they're describing how to build the retaining walls, what are they calling them? They're calling them cut and fill. So I guess I guess, oh, this like cuts into the land, and then this like fills the land down. To me, those are called retaining walls. And the way that they describe them is cut roads are built using the road elevation options, where the first negative values create cut roads before it turns into a tunnel. So it sounds like it goes road normally along the ground, and then like pressing page down, I assume, I don't know what it'll actually be, brings the cut road. So it does like a retaining wall here, and then pressing it one more time brings it into a tunnel. So then you could think, in theory, when you go from your regular road on the ground to your tunnel, the cut road's probably going to be in between them. So I wonder if they will maybe look a little bit nicer than previously. I don't know if we see any of them in these screenshots or in the video. I should probably pay attention and see. It also tells me, bringing back the whole simplifying the UI thing, because previously if we wanted to build a retaining wall, let's say like with mods, with Anarchy or whatever, we would go into the key wall and we would place a key wall. Whereas here it's just, yeah, it's just part of the road. So you just place the road. So again, that's simplifying the UI, which is good, I think, as long as things are still findable. And I assume that we will develop muscle memory as we play this game for probably thousands of hours, right? Do we think 4 or 5 digits? Are you going to play City Skylines 2 long enough for 4-digit hours in the game, or 5? I haven't gotten to 5 in CS1, but maybe I will with CS2. I'm excited to find out. Where they say that building roads can create interesting intersection options, and then they go on to describe the types of intersections and the intersections that you see in the video and such. I think what's not being written there is their confidence in their new traffic AI, which I think is the next dev diary, am I right? That's very exciting to me, because I think Colossal Order, it's obviously really hard to communicate with PR and, you know, getting hundreds of thousands of bajillion comments about more tiles on console. I can understand it being like difficult to communicate successes and failures, specifically quote failures or things that they maybe could have done better, let's say. I think if they're going to be communicating a better AI in the next dev diary, and saying things like this, like saying like, hey, look at these wacky, crazy interchanges you can do, that's confidence. And I'm very glad for that. I think that they would not be focusing on the AI or on things that the AI could really like muck up if they weren't confident that it will be umpteen times better than CS1. The on and off ramps features, like having the exit lane, I guess, exist when you like go to make your little interchanges or whatever, is 100% them listening to the community. That's rad. Poor Teddy Radko is gonna be out of a job because his whole shtick, not whole shtick, but one of his many shticks was being able to do these wild things in vanilla by like making the nodes a certain amount apart and all that sort of thing. And so sorry, Teddy Radko, maybe you're out of a job for just this part. You'll do other cool things. Down here, it sounds like each road, because they say each category features multiple different options from two-way roads to one-way to asymmetric variations. So it sounds like every type of road gets asymmetrical roads, which is going to help with the turning lanes and on and off ramps. So if that's true, if that is what they mean by wording it that way, I'm of course really glad for that. What I think this last sentence demonstrates, they say there's no grass or tree lined versions of the roads, as these among others are added using the replace tool. So they have already said these words above when they were talking about the replace tool. And so now they've like reiterated it in a different place in different words. And to me, that shows a dedication of clarity, which is really valuable. CS is a Paradox game which doesn't have tutorials or, you know, the tutorials that we maybe need. So there are things that can be kind of unclear sometimes. And so them demonstrating like, hey, this is going to exist, but it's going to exist in this other way, is very smart of them, I think. Good. Continue to communicate in this fashion, please. I don't know why I'm telling you that like I have any say, but you know. Anyways, can we zoom in on this? Look at, oh, I can't zoom in anymore, but are those moose? Are those meese? That's awesome. I'm so happy. If like they kind of look like mooses or elk or meese. Awesome. Makes me wonder if animals will like vary by region or by spring, summer, fall seasons. I don't know. That would be really neat if they did. What else do I have? Oh, they talk about adding bus lanes and tram tracks here, and that is further modularity, like was mentioned earlier. And like I've kind of always been saying that I wanted for CS2, I just think it's such a great way to make roads available as you just get to choose, and it solves the potential problem of them, I don't know about accidentally or just, poor decisionally choosing to release XYZ roads, but maybe they just kind of forgot, or they chose not to release a 2-lane one-way road with the bus or something. Now we get to make that decision. It gives us more tools, as they're saying, to build the city that we want. When we scroll down, we get something that everybody, I think, and I hope, is going to be extraordinarily excited about. It is stating that pedestrian streets are in the base game. What have I written about this? That's it. I just put a bunch of exclamation marks. That's fantastic, right? That's a big deal. We had plazas and pomegranates in CS1, and that was, I'm gonna guess, like a learning tool for this. That is what I've written down. I've got that the deliveries do seem to work slightly differently than in CS1. They say that there is no personal vehicles, there is service vehicles, which we already have had, but then it also says delivery trucks bringing resources to local businesses. So the way that that has worked in CS1 is the delivery truck brings the goods to like this main service building duber that's on the outside or just on the edge or whatever of the plazas and pomegranates district. But this sounds like the service truck will still go to the place, to each building, and I'm curious to see what that does for like I guess traffic. But I know that in CS1 I don't love it all going through that one main building. It just clogs things up so much. So I'll be really curious to see how often pedestrian streets get used as like a big area, like we currently kind of do with plazas and pomegranates. It opens up the ability to use them like is shown in this picture, because you can, I guess, that's a tram, isn't it? That shows that you can put a tram on the pedestrian road, and now people can walk here and here. The tram can go between here and here without having to have, because normally that short of a road, like intersections so close together, could potentially be bad for traffic, right? But now you can just use a pedestrian road and keep your tram going and have people walking, and yeah, it just opens up possibilities by having it, in theory, just be a street rather than a district and all of the other rigmarole. So let's hope that works the way that it looks that it works, right? Are those on the right side there, are those the sound barriers, I think, on the highway? Cool. The pedestrian bridge there, obviously beautiful. These houses look like, what do you call that? Row housing, I guess. Yeah, neat. They look copy-pasted over and over again. They talk about here having the intersections. I'm gonna call them interchanges. They talk about it being easier, and that is such a boon. Gang, I have almost 3,000 hours in CS1, and when I'm playing totally vanilla, which I've been really loving lately, I struggle with interchanges so much, and it's really become a detriment to my cities, where I'll kind of zoom out a little bit and I'll look at, I'm gonna be a little pretentious here, I'll look at a pretty beautiful city in general, and then I'll see this horrible vanilla cloverleaf that has weaving traffic, because I can't afford the time that it would require for me as a not good interchange guy to build a better interchange there. So they say that they are including pre-made intersections, and they, I'm actually just properly processing these words for the first time right now, which can be placed in empty areas or over existing roads, connecting the intersection to the existing road network automatically. So in the video, that is released today, they show placing the roundabout tool and it connects automatically. And that's what this sounds like they're talking about with an entire interchange. That's rad if true. Big if true. And then they also talk about having complex highway intersections as well as pre-made transition pieces that can be placed between highways and regular roads. Oh, so what they're saying here is like service interchange and whatever the other one is. So it just means that they are providing interchanges that go between highway and highway, as well as interchanges that go between highway and like road into the city. Cool. I know there's words for those. Feel free to tell me what they are in the comments. I'm not going to remember them anyways because I haven't right now. But shows a further dedication for options for their players and accessibility for less good interchange making players. Speaking of roundabouts, we are on the roundabouts section, and I wanted to say, right, can you see my mouse? You can. So these little arrows, oh, I can like zoom and stuff. How cool. This just in, 33-year-old woman discovers zoom buttons. These look like giveaway symbols. And then even, I guess you can see it here. Let me scooch over this way. You can see the roundabout symbol like in the road markings, right? So that shows that the game is, oh, you can see them here as well. The game is recognizing roundabouts, which we haven't seen before. I wonder if though that will work on like if you self-make a roundabout, like maybe, I don't know the biggest roundabout option they give us, or the smallest, I guess. If we go and make one bigger or smaller, or if we just make our own, is that gonna recognize it as well? Or is it just the pre-made ones? How does it work? What does it all mean, Basil? The way that they describe how easy it is to place them, and then they show that in the video as well. That's fantastic. When we scroll down here, we start talking about parking lots. They say in here that the parking is basically part of their pathing. So when they're choosing how to get from point A to point B, the parking available, I guess, at point B appears to be part of that decision, which combined with what they say, where is it? Citizens have different preferences. So combining that fact with the fact that your Sims don't all want the same thing, that shows a dedication to depth and what I'm hoping will be like an attainable challenge to the game. Because CS1, for all of the things I love about it, once you've kind of really figured out the basics of going from 0 to Megalopolis, it's a pretty easy game, right? So if they can bring us ways, like it sounds like this is, bring us ways to have a little bit of challenge that isn't overwhelming, but still a little bit of challenge, I am all for that. And that's what I'm reading kind of like behind the scenes in these two paragraphs. This next page, I love these, I keep pointing the wrong way, these colors. They remind me of Newfoundland, and they're beautiful. That's just you know, the different colored on all the buildings. They're great. This page also talks about traffic accidents, which awesome. It says the road maintenance depot is no longer, it sounds like it's no longer you just plunk down one building and instead of your road condition being at 100%, it could maybe go up to 150. That's the way CS1 was. This sounds like there is actual, again, depth to it. And it's something that matters, because it says that the road quality or excess snow, which the road maintenance depot appears to also affect, slows down traffic and causes traffic jams, and the road conditions affect traffic accidents, which halt traffic, cause gridlocks until they're secured and cleared. So that's like life in your city. Like your city moves and breathes, and it's not just plopping something down and then moving on. There's actual things happening at different times in your city, which you may or may not need to respond to. If you learn through a few traffic accidents that you don't have the road maintenance that you need, or it sounds like the police that you need, you respond to that by adding those buildings or if you can add like a better one versus a smaller one or whatever. The road condition actually mattering shows a little bit more of the challenge that I just recently talked about. And then, yeah, I just want to touch again that it says police here. So the road maintenance takes care of all this stuff, cleaning out the debris and allowing traffic to continue, but only after the police have secured the site of the incident. So it sounds like it's not just as simple as have enough road maintenance around and their budget high enough, I assume, to do the thing, but you also need to balance it with the police, and then the police are going to be doing things other places in the city as well. Cool. Can I just also say, this isn't even in my bullet points, but this, like, I guess business over here, it's got a different font. It's got a logo to it. It's got like a whole look to it that looks like you would have on in a business, on a business's like billboards or front of their building or whatever. That's attention to detail, which is neat because we've seen other billboards in the video game, in the video or the screenshots, haven't we? And they've kind of looked like our existing cartoony ones. I'm scrolling up so much. Yeah, so see here, this one is, you know, pretty, it's just a completely different style. Where I'm going with this is that it's a completely different style, and that shows attention to detail and depth within the game. This whole page is reasonable, what I'm calling reasonable bits of TMPE. Yeah, Traffic Manager President's Edition. It's a mod in CS1 in the vanilla game. And it is doing what, it's providing us what a lot of the vocal minority, I have no idea, but the vocal current players want. It's saying they want TMPE, but I think they're keeping it really reasonable and attainable and not overwhelming for either players that are new to city building games in general or just not as good at them, which is important. This is not Dark Souls, and let's not get into the Dark Souls argument, but you know, it's a video game, it's meant to be fun. And so having it be like kind of just these options sounds great. I can only assume that they've play tested it, right? And they've probably play tested it with people who haven't played before, I assume. And so they know, they would have learned, I guess, that people who this whole thing is new to can handle these, which is fantastic. Down here, they go back into the things that you use with the upgrade tool. They say that wide sidewalks create more space for pedestrians, but remove roadside parking, which when you combine that with the parking being in their pathing mentioned earlier, I think is pretty big because I remember when I installed TMPE for the first time, I removed parking from every single street in my city, and I continued to do so because in CS1 it doesn't matter. But and I did it because it's ugly, right? It doesn't look good to have people lining your streets with cars. And so that'll probably be my instinct to do that in CS2, but I'm gonna guess that that matters with their driving AI, right? The trees being added for noise pollution says that there is still noise pollution in this game. And I like that. When you look at this picture, I'm gonna guess that 35 is the speed limit. It must be miles, because 35 kilometers an hour is a weird number. I don't think I've seen 30, but I've seen 40 in like school zones. Anyways, probably miles per hour. But I like that it's on the road, because if the traffic AI is similar at all, where like speed is at least part of a factor of their pathing, that will give us further information that we need if we want to get really meticulous in designing where what roads go and providing different driving paths or whatever for our Sims. Says that next week the next dev diary is about their citizens, how their citizens and vehicles make their way through their city. So the new pathing AI. I will of course be doing a video on that as well, so subscribe for that. I'm not done this video yet, but what I want to say about this is that it really shows how much Colossal Order has grown through Cities in Motion 1 to Cities in Motion 2. Those were all about like transit AI and pathing and transit options and stuff, right? And then now through them to CS1 and through to CS2. And that's just, it's cool to see that. It's cool to witness that and have it so stated, I guess. I think editor Toadie would have shown bits of the video while I was talking about this, but I am just going to go through the video really quick. I just want to comment here that this interchange is wild. And again, I think that that shows their confidence in their pathing AI, that this sort of thing is doable. We can also see demonstrated in this one that the like road turning symbol doobers differ between like a sharp turn and a curve, which is cool. That's different, and it shows an attention to detail for the kind of keeners, the kind of hardcore folks who really want things to look realistic. In this section here, they're talking about having the water and the electricity go under the roads. That's awesome. I think that's another quality of life thing that they didn't have to do, but they did. It'll be neat to try to manage them, because they mention in the audio, they mention that it does not go underneath the highways. But also on this screen, you see that the zoning depth, previously we had 4 squares possible, and this goes to 6. I wonder if 6 is the max. Either way, I think it might mean that there's more like sizes possible, more variety in the buildings that we're gonna get, hopefully. Touching back on the water and the electricity being under the roads, they even say in the audio of the video that it's a quality of life tool. Gang, it sounds like when we're building our cities, we're not going to be getting bogged down with finicky bits. Of all the shots in the video, this one, I know there's a lot, and I know it's a beautiful city, but this one gets me the most excited to build. Blah, blah, blah feelings. But this is just inspiring. This just makes me want to take my hands and put City Skylines 2 in them and then play a video game, you know? This is the shot that makes me excited to play the game. I want this. I want to build this. Hey, worldly traveled people out there, is this also like a world bridge? Because I mentioned earlier that the one bridge looked like the Golden Gate Bridge. This, I mean, it looks like a stunning piece. Like it looks like what would be maybe a unique building or something in CS1. I hope it's not. I hope it's like a bridge that we can draw. But tell me in the comments if this is a real world bridge or something. Okay, this next part I'm gonna play slowly. And I saw, watch these people. I'm pretty sure they start walking. Let's watch them. They're walking, and then they start running. Are they out for a jog? Wait, hold on. I know I just made like a really obnoxious noise, but watch their walking signal in those traffic lights. Oh, that is doing something. So Sims can hurry? Really quickly on this screen, the text is like rendered above the streetlight, and I don't love that. I wonder if it's rendered above everything. I don't remember how it is in CS1 because I think I have road names turned off all the time, but I feel like the text should be on the same level as the road. In this screenshot, it's like, I'm just gonna scooch me a little bit. Do you see right here? This is just me being a goober, but imagine playing football there and just kicking the football a little too far. I guess if there aren't fences around it, I can't really see. But yeah, just imagine kicking your football a little too far and just having it going into the ocean, sea, water place. I love that during this part of the video, they are talking about like trying things and liking them and not liking them. And then they talk about deleting the one road when you don't like it or whatever. That snapped, but oh, that like snapped to the middle. Or like it didn't snap to the middle, sorry. So they choose that and then it snaps over here. Anyways, right here, they talk about, oh, I didn't like that there, so I'm gonna delete it. That's the attitude I want. That is the attitude that I want for this game. I love it. I think that in these last final shots, or this last final shot that's coming up, they chose a beautiful city to show off, right? And I think that they did that on purpose. They are getting people inspired. Colossal Order is excited about this. They're getting people inspired and excited to play the game, and they have certainly done that with me. Subscribe for all things City Skylines 2. Gang, I'm excited. I'll catch you next time.